Hey everybody, find the boys on Facebook by searching The Longbox, a month in comics, and follow them on Twitter at The Longbox MIC.
Hello and welcome to The Longbox, a month in comics. I'm Doug Hawkins. Before I kick off, I just want to kind of make an editorial from a couple of episodes ago, should I say. I was doing the Crisis on Earth X issue with Steadman. We were reviewing that, and I mentioned Simon Kinberg as one of the creators or producers on that show, or on the Arrowverse. I came up with the wrong name, basically. Simon Kinberg is the director of X-Men, the Dark Phoenix movie that's coming out. I meant Andrew Kreisberg. He was the producer on the Arrowverse shows. I just wanted to make that clear that I got those two mixed up, because I think I confused a couple of listeners. And not only is it a kind of a faux pas, but I also mentioned the fact that he'd been fired for sexual harassment allegations, and therefore I pinned that on the wrong person. So Simon Kinberg is X-Men, Andrew Kreisberg is Arrowverse, and it's Andrew Kreisberg that has been fired for the sexual harassment allegations, not Simon Kinberg. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear. Okay, so today we're reviewing Doomsday Clock issue 2 by Geoff Johns and Gary Frank. So issue 2 starts off with a flashback of Mime and the Marionette robbing a bank, so it kind of confirms that they're super villains. It's a really nice scene, actually. It's really good to kind of establish or re-establish the world of the Watchmen, because the voiceover is talking about supers wanting their suits and who they go to get them made, and it's kind of very much about the costumes, and anyone who wants to make a name wanted to be a costume hero. He just kind of explained the history of the Watchmen universe from a different point of view, and it was just interesting to see those characters in action. We find out the reason why Adrian wants Mime and Marionette out of prison. The reason is because he wants them to trigger Dr. Manhattan's something in Dr. Manhattan's mind. I think he was like, these are characters from John's past, and if I can use them to manipulate him into convincing him to come back and save the world. And his plan is he's turned Archie, the Archimedes, the flying owl from Owlman's like bat plane, basically, into a dimension jumper, and he's going to use that to. He has some sort of tracker on Dr. Manhattan's atoms, and he's going to use that to find whatever dimension he's gone into. Okay, I'm going to sigh about this, because I think if you remember in my last issue, I was hoping that this was not going to be the case. I said I would like Geoff Johns to write this book because he would come up with something a lot more original than we jumping dimensions, just creating a portal and jumping through. I'm like crestfallen. This is the way that this is being glued together, and this is the premise of the book. It's so... I don't know, it's almost ruined it for me. I mean, I will go on to talk about all the great stuff in the book, but that is the big elephant in the room, I'm afraid. That it was a lazy way to connect these two universes. It's just like, oh yeah, we'll just jump dimensions. I wanted some sort of manipulation of reality at least, or something like that. But yeah, no, we're doing dimension jumping, and it's really disappointing for me. I really am disappointed in that. I thought they'd be far more creative. But hey ho, moving on. So the nukes go off in the Watchmen verse just as they're doing their interdimensional jump, and they jump into DC universe. They jump into Gotham. There's this great shot of Archie traveling through the bat signal in the cloudy sky, and the lights on the ship become the eyes of the bat, and it looks great. It's a great panel. And then the bat lands into Amusement Mile, which is a nice little nod. It kind of frames it really well. Something very iconic from the Gotham verse, the Amusement Mile. So it crash lands there. I believe this is set ahead of DC continuity at the moment. I think it's set like a year or so after where the comics are at the moment, because there's this kind of public uproar. There's a thing called the Superman theory, and it kind of is a conspiracy on why there's so many superheroes in the US. And basically the theory is the government is creating these superheroes because I know 1 in 12 or 12% of the population have a kind of a gene that can turn you into a metahuman, a metagene or something, and they're being accused of deliberately activating this gene in people and then giving them a superhero cover-up backstory to hide the fact that they're actually sleeper agents for the government. So that's kind of, they're a political frenzy in Gotham and across the world, which they aren't actually in DC continuity at the moment. So I believe it's set in the future when that's happening. Which is quite interesting, isn't it? It's very what's the word? That just feels like the tensity that you have in the original Watchmen book. So to have that echoed but in the DCU is, I think it's very in keeping of what they're trying to do. And I must say, Gotham is drawn and depicted very much like the New York that you see in the Watchmen. The way that it may just be the angles that they use to show Rorschach and Adrian walking down the streets, but it's just depicted very much in that derelict kind of way. So the plan is that they will find the two smartest guys on the planet, Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne, and they will confront them and get them to track down Dr. Manhattan. That's their train of thought. So we have Rorschach, who breaks into Wayne Manor, which I'm not too sure that that's that easy to do. In this, he just, I don't know, jimmies the window open and jumps in. I mean, in some versions of the mythology, it's not the Wayne Manor that's particularly difficult to access, it's the Batcave. But in a lot of versions I've seen, there's like secret sensors and like hidden lasers and all sorts of like, in some versions it's a fortress. So I don't know how I feel about Rorschach just like strolling in and doing that. And I understand that Rorschach is skilled within the Watchmen universe, but in terms of the DC universe, because they're very much toned down versions of superheroes, I don't know if he would have the skill or the ability to break into the Batcave. Well, break into the manor, shall I say. And he even, to add insult to injury, there's a bit where he's in the kitchen of Wayne Manor and he steals the pancakes that are on the side. And, classic Rorschach, eating that out, the beans, eating when he can. I say classic Rorschach, it's a different Rorschach, but he seems to be taking on his characteristics. Anyway, so he's eating the pancakes, and the bit of wrapper that was, the foil, whatever, that was covering the pancakes is on the floor, and he sees a breeze move it, and he noticed that the breeze is under the clock in the corner. So he walks over there, sees that there's something behind the grandfather clock, rips it open, voila, he's found the Batcave. Again, that doesn't sit well with me, that this guy can just like figure out, he goes there to see Bruce Wayne, and in minutes works out that Bruce Wayne has this secret, and he walks down into the Batcave. Anyway, so Adrian goes into Luthor's office. They have a pissing contest about who's the smartest, and then it's revealed that the comedian is alive. I don't know how. We'll find out. That's the kind of cliffhanger. Maybe John's brought him back to life. Maybe Dr. Manhattan's used some sort of, now he's in different realities, just created his friend. I don't know. We'll find out soon. The last actual shot, though, is of Batman squaring off to Rorschach in the Batcave. Amazing shot. Them kind of looking at each other. Again, though, is it that iconic? Because it's not the original Rorschach. Like, the imagery was like, oh, cool, these two comic book legends finally meet. But because one of them isn't Rorschach, it's just someone in the Rorschach costume, I don't know how like iconic I feel about that. So this does confirm what I was saying in the last issue, where with the Clark pages in issue 1, that must be set in the DCU, because we are now going to the DCU. There was kind of, if you remember, I was a little bit like, I'm not too sure where this character is and where it's set, etc., etc. I think it's quite evident now that Clark from those pages is the original recipe Superman from the DCU. So I really don't know how to feel about this issue, or how to review it, because I'm very disappointed by, I'm still really hung up about we're just jumping into a different dimension. It's just such a lazy and tired story trope. We do it in the CW all the time. And I just thought I had higher expectations for this book than something like that. So as I said in the last issue, the way I was going to score this was whether or not I'm enjoying this more than The Dark Knight 3, the Master Race that came out last year. And I must say, after two issues into this and 2 issues into the Master Race, I must say I would be enjoying the Master Race more, unfortunately. And that's only because it's just about the premise. The premise there was, the bottled city of Kandor. The Kryptonians came from there. That's using something smart in the history of the DC mythology. Where this is, like I said, we're just jumping for a dimension. It feels really, really lazy. I'm sure it will pick up, and I might forgive it for that massive flaw, because there are so many other great things going on in this book. But I'm just really crestfallen, as I said before, about that. So at the moment, I enjoy it less than the Master Race. But tune in next time to see how much my opinions improved or not improved from issue 3. Okay, don't forget to check out our other episodes that we got going up. At the moment, I am doing once a week. I am doing the Road to Infinity War, so I will be reviewing a MCU movie once a week. Iron Man is up at the moment, and so Hulk will be out. The Incredible Hulk will be out very soon. I've been Doug. Read more comics.